Hey guys, we are going to be talking about a really interesting travel DTC brand now. COVID restrictions are going, people are traveling more, so we've picked a travel brand for you guys. And what I can tell you is we've just finished recording the episode, so we didn't look at the notes. What I can tell you is that my third idea is really good and Lorenzo's second idea is incredible. So watch the show. So we're going to talk about uh, Away, and it's a big what is it? Travel furniture. What is it called? Travel. What's it called, Lorenzo?
Travel DTC brand.
Travel gear DTC brand. Lorenzo, I think before we start, you actually have some interesting things to share, and then I'll talk about the page.
Yeah, so this company obviously got hit by COVID because it's a travel focused company. But I want to talk about just a couple of metrics. So they raised around $160 million, which is a huge number for a DTC brand, not like a software marketplace company. Then in 2020, they had $135 million in revenue. And that was more than 50% drop from 2019, where revenue was about $300 million. Couldn't find data for 2021, but before COVID, this was a $300 million company. So pretty successful in terms of revenue. I don't think they're profitable. I think they had some kind of like a bad press about a few things that happened in the company. But let's focus on the product page because there's a lot of juicy stuff we want to share today.
Absolutely. So we're looking at the mobile page, and the first thing you'll obviously notice is that they have lots of different angles and views, which makes sense. This is a technical product, and you can kind of play around with that. And then over here, they specify it's not just the name of the product, but they say it's a bigger carry-on, which is a qualitative term. They show the reviews. They have a price point over here. And right here, there's a comparison option of comparing this with their regular carry-on, because people might wonder, like, what is the benefit of bigger? What is bigger? How do you define bigger? So I think this is a good location. And of course, color is a big criteria for the shoppers. So they, when you say change the color, they change. I don't know if all their angle shots change as well, which is really incredible. And then here they have an upsell for a USB charger, and when you click on it, they actually show how it actually looks like, which I think is which is great. And then you can personalize it. There's an add to cart. There's a reminder over here that it's not only is it free shipping, but we give 100 days of free trial, 100 days of trial, which is super compelling. There's a fairly short and to the point description over here. And then under features, there's also this read more, which takes you to another page. And then they have features. They're listing all the features over here. And then there's this cross sells that they have. And then here they have actually what I would call somewhat of a hidden asset, because they had to fit it lower on the page. But I think this is quite powerful. They have an animated GIF, which I love because it demonstrates what the feature is that they're talking about without it having to play a video file. Then there's a description. They have similar animated GIFs over here, just reinforcing their core selling points. TSA approved lock. Then they talk about role of a lifetime, and then they have images and reviews. So that is the layout of the page. So I'm just going to jump in and just start talking about my ideas. Lorenzo has not seen my concepts today, and so he's going to be hopefully just as surprised as you guys are. From my perspective, one of the things that I noticed was that, when I think about myself, when I'm about to buy and maybe I can quiz Lorenzo on this. Lorenzo, when you're buying a travel bag, what is something that is super important to you regarding that travel bag?
Weight. So first of all, I don't know if I would buy a travel bag online. I would probably just go to the store and buy it.
Why?
Honestly, I make most of my purchases offline rather than online.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I will speculate here, but one of the things that you would want to actually do in a physical store is to eyeball the actual size of the bag, because you're like, okay, well, how much stuff can I fit into it? And so to me, and again, I'm speculating here, I have no data to support this, but to me, one of the criteria that really matters for travel is amount of clothes or how many days of clothes I can carry with me. Because if I have a big bag and a small bag, of course, other things matter as well, but that's a pretty important criteria. And so what happens is on this page, they don't actually talk at all about how many days worth of clothing or how many days worth of travel this bag has. And so when I first looked at it, I said, wow, that's a missed opportunity. Then I said, you know what? They don't talk about it because it's very difficult to calculate and maybe they have a reason for it. But when I clicked on this pop-up, they actually compare their bag with the bigger bag with the regular carry-on bag, and here they clearly specify how many outfits you can carry and how many days worth of travel that you can do. To me, this is a very strong selling proposition, and they already have this data. Now if they didn't have this data, it would have been hard for me to have recommended that they should have this data because they might not have been able to get it. But the fact that they're already talking about it, to me, is a very important selling point. So my recommendation is very, very simple. My recommendation is that this information needs to be shown conditionally in the product description at some location. Maybe you can even show it visually, but I've said over here it should be shown conditionally. So what I mean by that is that if someone actually comes to this page, because this link is pretty high on the page, they may click on this, and if they click on it and if they consume this information, then we don't have to repeat it for them. So the conditional code could be that if someone clicks on this and if they scroll down to this area, then assume that this content has been consumed, and then in that case, don't repeat it over here. But if they don't satisfy that criteria, maybe you can have another paragraph over here that says, ideal for 6 or 7 days worth of travel, whatever that message is. So that is my first concept. Because to me, again, this is obviously when you do optimization, you are making assumptions about what might really matter to the buyer. And I am speculating that the number of how much you can carry in your bag really, really matters. And so therefore, if that's true, then I would like to kind of draw attention to this point conditionally on the page.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing because in my reviews mining analysis, this is not a theme that I created, I would say, but there were quite few people that mentioned how they were able to fit 4 days vacation clothes into the bag or 10 days vacation clothes into the bag. So, it's interesting. That type of data is super interesting. I don't think these guys are collecting any sort of like data for it. I think what could be interesting to understand that is maybe in the checkout, for example, add an additional step, not a step, like a field where you're asking if you're buying the product, the bag for how many days of vacation, right? So now you can start collecting sort of like a little bit of data around that.
And I'm going to just jump into my second idea. So what we know, and Lorenzo, I don't know if you know this statistic, but I picked it up from the book, The Paradox of Choice. They basically say that for every 10 options added, conversion rates actually go down, participation rates go down by 2%. And the reason for that is because more choices paralyze people. If I have 2 choices, it's simple. If I have 20 choices, I'm like, oh, I have 19 mistakes that I could make. So sometimes shoppers don't buy because they're like, well, so the fact that these guys have these 15 different bags is a real problem, but it's also an opportunity. So what I did was, on the product page, I have written new intro copy. So over here, if you come here, it just simply says, our bigger bag, blah, blah, blah. In my concept, the sales pitch starts by saying we carry 15 wonderful travel bags. But as you can see from and I'm referencing the number of reviews over here. Oh, I made a typo. This is our absolute bestseller. And the reason I want to show this in the opening is because I want, when the person comes to this product page, we think about our competition as all these other open tabs where people are looking at competing brands. And yes, that's true. But I would argue that our biggest competition is non-consumption. Someone just decides simply not to buy a travel bag because they just can't decide. But the other competition that we have are our own product line. And so if I'm the product manager for this particular SKU, those remaining SKUs are my enemies. I want to destroy them. And so the way I would destroy them is by just letting the person know, give them a scent trail so they know that this is our absolute bestseller. But the other thing I've done over here is I've actually, again, of course, we mentioned reviews on the top of the page, but maybe someone missed it. So I want to again remind them about the reviews because we have a lot of reviews. And so that is my second idea.
Yeah, and if you go to category page, if you think about it, right, what they're doing, these guys are doing, I think it's interesting. They're choosing a different color for different size of the bag.
That's a good point.
To show that this is different, all different products, right? But still, you know, my thought when I was looking at it is like, well, it's just a matter of size. Like, is the size the only thing that is different? And one thing that I thought could be useful to help the user make a choice of what product they should be selecting is, imagine if they had a badge on category page. And I this is something I just came up with right now. It could be like a badge that tells you, you know, perfect for 3 days vacation, perfect for 10 days vacation, you know, because my hypothesis here, and you know, this completely speculation without interviewing anybody and doing any sort of like qualitative research besides reviews mining, is that a lot of people would buy the bag with a vacation in mind.
That's exactly right. That's why the number of days of clothing was so important, because the length of the vacation matters. You're exactly right. And having some kind of a mechanism here to filter based on the amount of time that they're, or how many people they're packing for. Because if they are packing for a family, you know, it's a different criteria versus if you're packing for yourself. But the key thing for me, Lorenzo, is making it absolutely crystal clear to them that this is our absolute bestseller. Basically, I forget about the size, forget about everything else. This is our bestseller, because the last thing I want to do is for this person to say, let me go back to the category page and see some other products. It's a risk that I don't want to take. So that was my second idea. And then I can just jump into my third idea. So as I mentioned, I believe that the features are super, super important. And I want to show you how I would think about this. So my idea is to convert these features as they're showing as bullet points into an accordion interface. And when you click on it, it expands out and we actually show an image with a mention of that feature. And then we actually describe that feature. Now I don't have the design skills to actually mock this up, but I want to show you something very important. So what I did was, as an illustration, I picked this feature. It says 360-degree spinner wheels that ensure a smooth ride. Okay, this is good from a marketing perspective, but there's so much more we could talk about this specific feature if this is what the consumer cares about. Because let me ask you, Lorenzo, let me take a guess. Who do you think is going to click on the plus symbol over here for this feature?
Well, somebody that is interested in.
Someone who cares about this specific feature. And this might be an important buying criteria for them. Otherwise, why the hell would they bother clicking on it? So here is something that I did. Again, I went to Google and I searched for the term benefit of 360-degree rotating wheel for travel luggage. And I found some really interesting facts. So here's a very interesting one. So it says 360 spinning wheels are all about agility. Having wheels at every corner gives you 360 degrees of motion, which gives them greater zigzagging through crowds and turnstiles at checkout and security. So I was like, okay, maneuverability is an important thing. Here, these are all different websites. This website talks about with 4 wheels instead of 2. I love this comparison because my enemy is the 2-wheel format, which people might be having at home. So it says with 4 wheels instead of 2, it provides optimal maneuverability as you navigate to your next destination. So I thought this part was strong. This is another really good point. Don't want the strain of heavy luggage. Leave back pain at home as you effortlessly walk alongside your bag instead of having to pull it behind you. I thought, oh, that's a great selling point. And then finally over here, stability and maneuverability are some of the main features of spinner suitcase. Having 4 wheels on the floor ensures that the case feels perfectly stable and avoids the dreaded wobble that is associated with roller cases when moving at high speed. Point I wanted to make was that there is so much information available for all of these features, and you can make it super interesting and compelling. So that is That is it.
We should have an episode all dedicated to the combination of product attributes with product reviews, because a lot of these benefits that you highlighted, right? You grab them from the internet. I'm a huge fan of research like that. But what could be super powerful here is, what if the company started to collect the benefits of all these product attributes and dimensions, like you called them earlier, from the customer. So it's a customer that has to sell me on those attributes.
That's true. That's true. That's super powerful. And that's the last thing I want to add over here, is that none of these ideas that we're talking about, we're not saying these are essentially you guys are getting access to our lab. This is the birth of an idea. So please don't look at this idea and say, like, can we use this? No, it's not usable. It is just us saying that instead of just relying on the fact that the copy says 360-degree maneuverability, which the skimmers could look at and say, okay, I'm sold, but the diggers would be like, that's just marketing talk. We have to have some counterpoint for them. And by just simply Googling, you don't have to use all of this content, but you might pick one feature. Maybe the back pain feature is something you want to draw. That's still better than simply saying 360-degree maneuverability. So Lorenzo, now it's to you, and you can go ahead and share your screen. And
by the way, my favorite is the third idea. So totally, super useful.
Yeah, I unfortunately did not have a chance to organize my ideas, but actually the third idea is my favorite as well. That's when I ended my. That's why normally I do two ideas, but I say, okay, these two don't seem strong enough. I'll do one more, and I say, okay, now I've got it, and I ended it.
All right, cool. I'm going to present the first idea, which I called introduce a product configurator or multiple selectors to increase AOV. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a second. First, I want to go to my reviews mining document. And there is one theme that I actually basically came up with, which is called cross-sell. And what this category shows is all the products that belong to Away, right? That Away also sells, that are mentioned by the customers as products that customers have bought together with this main bigger carry-on product. And I'm going to show you in a second what they are. So the Everywhere bag is basically like a smaller bag that, kind of like a additional carry-on bag that people can bring on the plane. And the other one is a packing cube, which is a solution to basically like pack smarter. So put a bunch of stuff inside the bag, right? So and then, the other point I have is, like, if you look at the accessory page that Away has, there's a lot of accessories that people might choose to buy, besides the main carry-on. So what I would do is I would look at their CRM, and I would want to understand the most common products that they're bought together with this specific bigger carry-on product. And then what I would want to do is I would want to introduce a product configurator, or basically like multiple selectors. And I explain what I mean by that in a second, in the product page. So for example, right now, if we analyze the product page above the call to action, the two main selectors are product color and if the user wants to have the USB charger or not. What I would want to introduce is, again, I would look at the CRM data. So don't think that this is what the additional products would look like, but I would want to introduce a select for choose the Everywhere bag, yes or no, and choose the packing cubes. Option number one, the pack of 4, which is already a SKU that they have. Second one is pack of 6, or a third option, not having a packing cube at all. Then choose charger, yes and no, which is the same as Control has right now. And then choose monogram, which is another option to if they want, they can basically personalize the bag tag that the product has. And I want to show you a couple of examples of companies that are doing this product configurator approach, just to visually show what I mean by that.
I love it.
Yeah. So this is a AT&T, super famous and popular telco company in the US. And when you go on the iPhone page here, as you can see, there's different ways that you can basically configure your iPhone. So you can, start with the color, the different phone capacity, the different plans that they have. So very similar concept, right? You pick and choose all the different options for each kind of like selector. The other example I have is from Dell.com. This is just a simple desktop computer that people can buy. And as you can see, user can pick and choose different options at different product attribute level. And so my hypothesis with that is that if you add multiple kind of like selectors, you allow the user to make it super easy to basically select a cross-sell. So the kind of like metric that I would look at is AOV and revenue per visitor, with also keep an eye on the conversion rate of that product overall, because there's always also like a risk that introducing additional cross-sell on that product page, you will bring, and it's going back to your paradox of choice topic that you were talking about before. By introducing more options, maybe people are get a little bit more confused. So I will keep an eye on the conversion rate overall. The second opportunity, I call it add image category tabs. So what I realized when I was actually looking at all the different product images was that these product images mainly like focus on what the product exteriorly looks like. So mainly like outside, you look at different kind of like angles. This is the back, this is the side, maybe a little bit of like zoomed in into one specific product attribute, which is in this case is the charger, and then few images about what the product looks like inside, right? But there's not a lot of like kind of like images around other details. You were talking about the wheels earlier, or even like some other stuff that I will talk about in a second. They do have those GIF, towards more like actually more half of the page, I would say. But my hypothesis here, as we all know, is that a lot of people might not scroll down and see all these images and GIFs, right? And then in general, I actually posted on LinkedIn about this today. What I've seen with a lot of clients that I, work with, and in general, whenever you and I look at DTC companies, besides the show, you and I know that you as well spend a lot of time looking at a lot of different websites. But what I realize is that companies tend to spend a lot of time and money into quality images, which makes sense. I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't, right? But I rarely get to work with a company that spends a lot of time thinking about what to show in the product images, right? So the other point I want to make here is that when we look at my reviews mining in the benefits category, we have few different topics that people have raised. So the first one is, I can fit so much. One of the main benefits that they got from it is that, they can fit so many things into the product. The other point was, I love the portable charger, which is amazing. Like, it's actually a very good feature. A lot of people have spoken about it. And again, 19% of people mention it. And then finally, it rolls smoothly and it's easy to maneuver, especially when you're on airport, maybe if you're, late and you're about to like miss the flight and so on. So what I'm about to suggest is basically introducing tabs which the users can click on, and each tab showcases different type of images.
This
So
is
for
my
example,
favorite idea. Wonderful.
thank you. So here what I put is like exterior bag images. So now you're giving the steering wheel to the user to decide what type of images they want to see.
And Lorenzo,
The
what happens when you let the user control their own experience?
Yep, they get to decide whatever they want, right?
And they convert at a higher rate.
Yep. Then the second one is inside the bag. There's a typo here, but inside the bag images. The next one is all packed up bag. Again, I want people to see what the bag looks like with all the clothes inside. And then there is another tab. This is actually, I came up with this idea by thinking, oh, how would Rishi call this tab basically? And I called it must see images. And as you can see, it's it stands out a little bit more than the other three with the red color, because I want people to look at those images. And what I would have in this section is basically different images that show the benefits that we actually highlighted earlier in my reviews mining document and different contexts. So for example, here, how a clear image of how the bag looks like when it rolls smoothly and it's super easy to maneuver. You can even have an image of a woman that carries it, right? Again, it could be a gift, for example. The other thing is like, it can perfectly fit into the airline overhead bin. Again, you can show a gift of a person putting the bag inside that. And then finally, it's light. So even a young lady with a small body type can lift it up. So you can have an image of that person, being able to lift up the bag. And one thing that I would do, and again, I'm not saying this is the type of images that I would focus on, right? I would actually do additional research, and I would augment this list with additional benefits / context images based on a post-purchase survey.
I love it. Wonderful. That's a great way to wrap up the episode with a banger. Wonderful. I loved it.
That's all I got for today, guys.
I love it. We will see you guys again next week with yet another DTC brand, but this has been really, really good. And we will talk to you guys soon. Ciao.
Ciao.